So good afternoon, Craig. Good to see you again.
Hey, Matt. How's it going?
Good, good.
You'll notice the extra energy in my voice here. That's because Calby's got up. I'm not
Always a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think anybody who watched this video will see you look a good deal brighter than last time.
Yeah.
Impressive for further into the prep.
Hopefully, I won't be yawning throughout the course of the video too. Yeah.
Well, you are only human, so I will forgive you. I think speaking of yawning and things to help you from yawning, things like caffeine, maybe we can touch on supplements today.
Yes.
A very, very wide field that can contain many things or some not things, depending upon points of view.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd like to throw in there to kick us off with?
Yeah, sure. So I guess like the first one that everyone thinks about is always protein, right? Like, do you take protein? I have people ask me, "Are you on protein?"
Especially here in Japan.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, do you take protein? I'm like, yes, I do.
Yes.
Right? Protein to me isn't a supplement, though. That's just a food group, right? It's like, like, do you eat chicken? Yes, I do. But it's just all it is it's like a processed food, right? So it's like a convenient method of ingesting that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even consider that a supplement, nor would I consider something like, I don't know, like something like chain cyclic dextrins or highly branched cyclic dextrin.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of like basically it's just a carbohydrate powder, but it's I would say in that one, that kind of borders on the supplement area because it is actually kind of specific to performance enhancement. So I think that in that case, but on the other hand, something like dextrose, I wouldn't consider to be a supplement because it's not, it doesn't necessarily have any, yes, it's a carbohydrate, but it doesn't have anything specific that we look for in terms of added punch, to the, it's not a special kind of carbohydrate.
Right. Yeah. It's not specifically targeted. I think what you say about proteins, like whey protein powders. First of all, it's funny because those who live in Japan know that protein and tampaku, which is protein, somehow are different.
Yeah.
And my wife has been asked many times in the office when she's drinking shakes, is it okay for you to drink protein? So you can see how entrenched this idea is in the culture, which is quite funny. But I like, similar to you, I think I see protein powders and I see, branched cyclic dextrin and dextrose kind of in that spectrum as more like I guess refined foods. I wouldn't call them processed because they're not processed.
Oh, fair. Yeah.
But they're more refined foods. And like dextrose is used in baking.
Yeah.
My wife makes bonbon chocolates, one of her hobbies. So I have to have dextrose powder in the house, and hopefully I don't use it all when she needs it.
So Valentine's Day is a big day in the Twig house then.
Yeah. Well, I do get chocolates. Yeah.
Nice.
Some pretty good ones, even though I'm not a big chocolate eater, but the supplements and the refined foods do have their place. I think I might even put fish oil maybe a little bit into the refined foods.
I'd agree with that. That said, if I were to recommend, for anyone who is just looking for a supplement for general health, fish oil has got to be the number one pick.
Yeah.
Especially the ones that are particularly high concentration of omegas, right?
Yeah.
Those are, that's
it gets missed a lot.
It's just got so many benefits, and like even people that don't train can benefit from that, and that's what that's I think really important.
Yeah, I think the research kind of flaps back and forth. There's always say pros and cons, but I think considering how inexpensive it is, and how harmless it would be to take it if you didn't need it. It's just it falls into my category of supplements that are just insurance. Like even if you can't define specific benefit from it, if it's not going to break the bank on you and it could protect you in somehow, why not just take it? Why not just consume it?
It's interesting that you raised the scientific angle, because I find that a lot of the bodybuilding specific supplements that are out there often don't have research that support them. However, if you go and actually use them yourself, and you are a bodybuilder that's watching your diet, that is, training to the intensity that we train with, you can definitely see a benefit from these products.
Yeah.
And, so the ones in particular that I'm thinking of are sort of the pump inducers, right? So the citrulline, the NOx inducers,
arginine derivatives,
arginine, stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. Like those things, I feel like that's an area of science that hasn't had the right study done yet. Because I often find, and this is the limitation with science, is that, as we discussed in our previous episode, that it's not necessarily specific to bodybuilders.
Right.
The subjects that they're testing are not competitive bodybuilders, and therefore the results that they get are different. So like when they say that citrulline doesn't help the average Joe that trains whatever 3 times a week, does a whole body routine, blah blah blah, like probably not, right? But for a guy who's in there 5 days a week, so a guy or girl that's in there for 5 days, a person who's in there for 5 days a week and is watching their diet and is actually paying attention to stuff like carbohydrate timing.
Right.
Science tells us that carbohydrate timing is not important. However, those of us in the trenches know that it is important because you have to have the carbohydrates present when you're training. So ideally, even if you're on a low carb diet, you want to try to keep your carbs kind of concentrated around your workouts, right? So but science doesn't support that. So
I think, to be fair, science probably would support it if they could actually explore the situations that you're speaking of.
Exactly.
Which will probably never be done because it's just too extreme. I mean, and we know from experience that the benefits we see are realized because we are on the limits. We are at the extremes. And, if the research says, okay, take 10 grams of citrulline malate will give you, they only see 1 to 2% benefit in the research studies. 1 to 2% to someone who's very high level bodybuilding is huge, right? I mean, it's worth it, and that again is up to the individual to decide. I go back and forth using citrulline malate. I don't use arginine derivatives myself. I do use creatine, I use glutamine, things like that, that I feel give me enough bang for the buck to justify using them. But it's not so much like they don't work or they do work. It's just I make that decision if it benefits me enough what I'm doing. And the average person may not feel that because they're not pushing the boundaries to experience the difference be gotten by that supplement. And that's something, like I said, we're just not going to see it in research. And I guess that's fine. I guess we have to be okay with it as long as we don't allow that, the science verbatim to be the end all and be all of the word on supplement usage.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's, and this is where, like, often I tend to defend bro science as opposed to the actual science that's out there. Because the bro science is specific to bodybuilders. So yes, there are a lot of things that have been done in the past that are unnecessary, but the test of time has proven that. That's proven that in the trenches. It's not because somebody did, a study where they decided that, like, I think the trend recently has been like no manipulation of potassium or sodium heading into a show. You keep the sodium levels high rather than cut it, so that the water is absorbed in your muscles and you can get a pump, etc. I think that's kind of like the gold standard for prepping now. Whereas in the past, people were doing all sorts of sodium manipulation.
Oh yeah, we did.
And potassium manipulation as well. And like throughout time, it has shown that the potassium and sodium manipulation was kind of unnecessary. But it wasn't because some science project came out, or science research came out. It's not a science project, right? Science research came out and said that, this isn't effective because, I just don't think that had been studied.
No, it was just about bodybuilders who are pushing the limits, experimenting, find out what works and what doesn't work, which is an iterative process over time.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, like I came from the 1980s and 1990s, and the things you're talking about, manipulation of sodium, potassium, were very much big things.
Oh, for sure.
It was of the era where you don't brush your teeth the day of the show because of the sodium fluoride. That was the thing, I mean, it's ludicrous, right, retrospectively, but the problem is that when you have bro science like that, and you have a large mass of people who are indulging it, you get almost like a cult mentality where you cannot break the rule.
Yeah.
It takes time to evolve away from that. So that does happen. And maybe that's a limitation of belief over actual scientific studies. It's slower to change.
Yeah.
But I would say, though, like when we talk about bro science and science and what works for bodybuilders, people listening to this who are just starting out, I think the effectiveness and the impact of supplements is going to expand like logarithmically as you get more and more advanced as a bodybuilder.
Oh, definitely.
When you're just starting out,
these
things are not going to have a huge impact on you.
Yeah.
But when you have pushed everything,
the ones that I would recommend to, let's just think about the ones that.
That's a good point.
What would you recommend to a guy who's just starting, or a girl just starting out in the gym?
Yeah.
Let's, for argument's sake, say they're not a complete noob. Okay, so they've been training for a bit, and watching their diet, right? They're into the groove. They've kind of, they're like, okay, I'm going to the gym 4 days a week, and I'm doing an upper lower split.
Yep.
And I'm good with my diet, right? For them, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because at that stage it's not necessarily as dialed as it might be for an advanced bodybuilder, but still, like, they're paying attention to their nutrition, paying attention to their training, busting their ass in the gym, been at it for a month or two, and they're saying, okay, like, can I take some supplements? Like, what would the supplements be that you recommend?
I mean, I will always say creatine monohydrate.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that always has a place. I think there's enough research to support that.
Yeah.
There's enough practical bro science experience to support it. And I think it not only has gym benefits, but it has cognitive benefits as well that are worth, exploring. So kind of that definitely falls into my why not bucket.
For sure.
And it's also incredibly cheap,
right?
Yeah.
Remember back in the day when it was expensive?
Yes, I do.
People are talking about the difference between German creatine and Chinese creatine.
Yeah, yeah. And now you can get Creapure, the German stuff, cheap.
Yeah.
It's not expensive. And people listening to this may already know this, but don't indulge in anything but creatine monohydrate. There are no special creatines. There are no benefits to whatever esters and all this kind of stuff. It's just get creatine monohydrate, the cheap stuff. It works the best.
And typically, almost everyone can dose 5 grams a day.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
And you can go higher than that. You don't need to load it. You can start taking it, and eventually it'll get saturated in your system.
Exactly.
Whereas like back in the day, it was like, I still remember we had to load it with double the amount that we would be taking daily, and on top of that, do that for the first week. And on top of that, they recommended ingesting it with grape juice.
Yes, I remember the grape juice to get the glycemic index push.
Who drinks grape juice?
Yeah.
Right? Like nobody. So, I remember especially buying that stuff and being like, oh, I have to do this to take my grape juice.
Yeah. Well, that's why there were the companies out there that made the whatever versions that were with like grape juice crystals mixed in with the extra money, anything to charge you more. Yeah. So the creatine
monohydrate. What's the next one?
Yeah, the next one I'll put up there is a super basic one is caffeine.
Yep. Caffeine,
cup of coffee, Monster, whatever you like, caffeine pills if you have to.
Yep.
There's a load of evidence to support it.
Yep.
And I mean, and if unless you consume massive quantities of caffeine, you will find a benefit to pre-workout caffeine.
Yep.
The caveat I will say is if you train at like 8 p.m., 9 p.m., probably not a great idea because sleep is more important for your recovery in the overall, model of being a bodybuilder trying to gain progress. But definitely caffeine is something I'll put in there. Again, both very cheap, very accessible.
Caffeine dosing.
Yeah, dosing. I do like 2 cups of coffee, which will get up to about 160 milligrams, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
Or one of those tablets you get is about 200 milligrams. So I'm probably between 150 to 200 pre-workout. I'm not a huge doser on it. And that's not because I have a problem with caffeine. I used to consume massive amounts in the 1990s, massive amounts. We'll go into that someday. So I don't have a problem with it. I just try to, everything I do, maybe you notice about me in general with everything I do in bodybuilding is I always try to find the minimum effective dose.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whether it's supplements, even food, minimum effective dose, training, minimum effective dose. That's just my personality. So that's how I apply it to supplements.
Nice.
How about you?
So I'm kind of throw everything at it type guy. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I would say dosing like 150 to 300.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't like those. There are some of the edgier pre-workouts that are out there that have more than 300 in a thing, and I just find I can't handle the crash, right? Because you do get a crash if you take too much caffeine. But interestingly, I remember seeing research that was saying something to the effect of 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight is the effective dosing. And if you think about that, that does probably fall somewhere between 150 and 300 for most people. So
possibly. Yeah.
I suppose that could be like 600 for a big guy, but
I
mean, you got to be A, pretty big, and B, like, like your stims, because it's going to be a lot. Yeah. Speaking of stims, while we're on that topic, I wanted to mention one supplement to avoid because I think it's dangerous. Well, there's a couple, but one in particular in the stimulant arena, and that's DMAA.
Yes, I remember that one.
Because that was in Jack 3D.
Yes.
And okay, like I remember taking this stuff and going to Gold's South here in Tokyo at like 4 a.m, and I could train for hours. Endless energy. And I was just like, how does this happen? Like, this is the best stuff ever. Like, I'm going to take this the rest of my life. Like, what is it? And then, of course, it came out after that, what I was feeling was basically, I think that stuff is like a precursor to meth. I'm serious.
Yeah, I heard that said. I don't know if it's actually chemically true.
Yeah, I don't know if it's chemically true, but I've heard that it's like
ephedrine is. Ephedrine's a
based on the level of stimulants that I felt. Like, it's just it was not healthy. And it's just it was way too much. So so I don't recommend that.
And I think to take an objective view at stimulants like that. Is that really beneficial for progressive training? To have yourself jacked out of your skull, do tons of volume, maybe do too much. Is that really in your best interest? Progression, it makes you feel like, I'm an animal. Is that really what's going to get you where you want to be? Perhaps not, that should be considered as well.
That's the very calm, mature Matt Twig approach I expect. Me, on the other hand, if it was like, let's go.
I had my times, I am not fully innocent. I mean, I was a child of the 90s again, and I used to get ephedrine in bottles back in the old day and take up to 100 milligrams of that stuff before the gym, and
100.
Drive to the gym in my car with a pulse rate of about 150 beats per minute.
Did you snort it too, or did you take it as the
my excuse was I have asthma, so it worked really well for my asthma at the same time.
It would,
which it did. It actually did improve my breathing. It was nice.
Well, I mean, ephedrine is like, so that's actually legal in Canada. It's not illegal. And I mean, is there a place for ephedrine, caffeine, and aspirin as a stack when someone's trying to lose weight? I mean, I used it. It was very effective. When I was in Canada, where it's not illegal, whereas here in Japan, where it's highly illegal, I won't touch it. So, it's just one of those things. Like, I mean, it's effective. Are there other ways to do it? Yeah. And I hope that somebody would exhaust the other avenues before going and getting, jacked out of their skull before, but then again, the doses that I did on an ECA stack were much lower than what you're talking about. 100 megs.
We were that was the early days in the States. I don't know if it's available like this anymore, but you could just go into like a convenience store and they had it on the counter.
You can't in the States, no, because I remember people have to use like Broncaid, I think. In order to
so this was like 1991, 92. That era, and that was when it was everywhere. So people were doing it because
it was like a newly discovered thing. I think the ECA stack in particular, like that got a lot.
And was it Bill Roberts and other people were talking about it in their magazines? So that's why it became a thing. Bill Phillips and stuff. Bill Phillips, Bill Roberts, those guys.
I actually heard there's another. There's another way of calling that stack, or like a derivative of it, which is ECY. So it's ephedrine, caffeine, and yohimbine.
Yohimbine, yeah.
Yohimbine is strong.
Hydrochloride, right?
Oh, like, you can, a pill is like 3 milligrams, I think. And if I take like 6, like 2 pills, that's like enough to feel like a psychological impact. Um, they say that people with anxiety shouldn't take it.
It's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can understand why. I'll just put it
Yeah.
that. I don't have anxiety, but it's I can understand why they say don't take it, because you can it seems very strong. But yeah, so the ephedrine, caffeine, and yohimbine I've never done together, because like we didn't have yohimbine back in the day when I was in Canada.
Right.
And now, because ephedrine is so illegal in Japan, I don't touch it. But that's a stack I could imagine being very powerful. But like, yeah, I don't know what headspace you'd be in. That's for sure. Between the ephedrine and the yohimbine, wow.
Yeah, because it definitely does some stuff to the beta agonists in your body, which causes all kinds of issues. I mean, again, I have asthma, so asthma medicine has a similar action, so I know what it can do,
right,
and what you shouldn't mess around with too much, and yohimbine has a strong effect in that area, especially the hydrochloride version, yohimbine HCl. And the one I had, I think I still have like a bottle of it because I didn't use it all in my last contest, was yohimbine hydrochloride with was it Rauskoline?
Yeah. I've got that exact one. That's what
Max. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, these things are out there and they have benefits. You just got to be careful with them, and you have to really weigh the cost benefits if it's going to get you what you need, especially if you're either earlier in your career or later in your career. If you're just trying things out, it's not gonna. I mean, it will have an effect. But you could do so much more without it. And again, that's the voice of caution, I guess, but it's also the voice of just practicality. I just don't like to deploy things I don't need or more than I need, because it's just my style. So
yeah, for sure. So we kind of digressed into like a little bit more advanced type stuff there.
Yeah, let's pull it back to the basics.
Let's go back to the basics. Yeah. So we've got, so far in terms of supplements that we recommend, we've got we don't consider whey a supplement. That's a refined food product. We like creatine. We like caffeine. What else do we like?
What do you like? You asked me my two.
Yeah, I like fish oil, as I
okay.
I'll throw that in there. So yeah, fish oil's got a lot of benefits for a lot of stuff. And one that I wanted to raise specifically, because a lot of people have issues, or like it's a real cause for concern, and I don't feel that it gets enough airplay.
Okay.
That is nattokinase.
Oh, yeah.
So that stuff, this is probably geared a little bit more towards the enhanced bodybuilding community. But what it does is it helps to basically clean your blood out. And it is used in Japan, in like, as they have this stuff all over the drugstores in Japan as health food supplements, but it's something that's not that widely known, elsewhere. But this stuff actually cleans your blood. So if you have, like, for example, a high hematocrit level, or high red blood cell count, and your blood pressure is rising, or you have high blood pressure, this is something that will help to get the blood pressure down. So I think that a lot of people, when they start out training and stuff, are sometimes wondering, like, what happens if my blood pressure goes up or whatever. I mean, just knowing that supplement exists, I hope helps some people.
Yeah, I will definitely double down on nattokinase. I've been using it for probably about 10 years. Since it was brought to my attention on actually Professional Muscle by Elmeric Denzig, whatever.
Okay. It wasn't Dante.
Is a big fan of it. Yeah, and I do have one of 2 genetic clotting problems that make my blood clot more easily than other people. So I have a risk for blood clots, which can be stroke or heart attack, which is how he lost John Meadows a few years ago. So I've been very cautious about that. My hematocrit's a little bit high. Anyways, so I take this, and I know, I mean, it basically reduces the clotting factor of your blood, amongst other things, which is hugely beneficial for someone like me. And I know that it works because I've gone in for surgeries and have my clotting factor, analyzed before surgery, because I want to make sure it don't bleed out. Mine was slightly below where it should be. So that means, clearly it's doing its job. Blood is not clogging up like an old sewer drain.
Like, the way I saw it marketed in Japanese is it's Kitseki o sara sara ni suru sapuri. Right? So and just like I mean, for those that don't speak Japanese, obviously that but it's basically like, it makes your blood silky smooth, right? That's the way that they described it. So,
do you on that, do you think that you could get enough of that by eating natto like Japanese do, or
I can't stand natto, so no.
Neither can I.
So, although I'm happy to pop a few pills. And the other thing about natto kanasu that's really funny is the measurement units.
The FUs.
The FUs, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you're supposed to I take 4,000 FUs in the morning and 4,000 FUs in the evening.
Yeah, that's enough FUs for you.
That's a lot of FUs in a day, right? So
yeah. No, that's an excellent one, Craig. If people are not aware of that, I think nattokinase is huge. Even if you're not an enhanced bodybuilder, if you have any history of strokes or blood clot type heart attacks in your family,
get on this. People with high blood pressure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This stuff really works. Like it helps.
And it's also another one that's very cheap too. So
exactly.
There's no reason not to include it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So so that one was a bit off piece.
Yep.
I'm gonna lob it back to you. Are there any others?
That's a really good one though. I would include probably everybody's favorite, vitamin D3, but I would always have that together with MK7.
K2.
Well. Yep. Because people don't know, like vitamin D has a lot of benefits, of course, but one of the things it can do if you do too much of it, especially if you're not young anymore, is it can put calcium in the wrong places in your body. I have a little calcification in my kidneys, partly due to being old and partly due to probably taking a lot of vitamin D3 for a long time. I was taking 10,000 units every day for a long time.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
After I saw the calcification, I reduced it to 5,000 and made sure I was taking MK7 every day.
Right.
The MK7 will help make sure that the calcium goes to the right places.
Yeah.
And it can also, theoretically, I've seen research on this too, it can help decalcify.
Sure.
Both blood vessels, kidneys, everything. So definitely worthwhile. And also, again, two very, very inexpensive supplements that are definitely worthwhile.
Just to add an a asterisk to saying there, MK7 is also referred to as K2. So there are some products out there that are advertised as K2 D3 supplements. For example, the one that I'm using right now is by a company called Sports Research Supplements, and they package it together. So it's like, well, not packaged together; it's contained in one pill. So very convenient. You can take the K2 and D3 together. Yeah, very, very cheap and effective.
Yeah, it's definitely another one that I do daily. Absolutely. I also kind of very generic, not bodybuilding. Vitamin B12. Cyclopolamine, I take it sublingually, either liquid or a pill, because again, based on my genetics, I have done my DNA analysis and passed it through all the different filters you can get, and I do have issues with methylation. So that will mean that, amongst other things, I do not metabolize vitamin B12 optimally.
Oh, interesting.
Which causes issues, and I think that's worthwhile looking at if you have that characteristic to take vitamin B12. You'll feel it in different ways, but just another one of those very inexpensive supplements that probably good to have in your drawer, along with the basics like a multivitamin, multi-mineral, just to have around, I think.
So I think we've given kind of a good representation of like what we think, like the super ones that spring instantly to mind.
Yes.
And then one that maybe people haven't heard of that's highly effective, take it type thing, and then the other ones that we're getting into. I think if we go any further from this point, we're probably going to start getting into the more, I wouldn't call esoteric, but like the more specific ones. So there are some that are very helpful specifically for enhanced athletes. Like for example, there's a liver protectant called TUDCA, with TUDCA.
Right. Yeah.
And that stuff is highly effective at protecting your liver, but there's a whole bunch of complicated elements about it. For example, you can't be consuming alcohol when you take it, because if you're doing that, then you actually wind up, because the TUDCA is so strong and is essentially cleaning your liver out. If you add the alcohol to it, then it will wind up actually being so strong that it damages your liver.
Mm.
Even worse than if you were drinking. So just drinking. So that's like a horrible outcome.
Yeah.
Then like a non-enhanced person does not need this.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just not
needed. Unless you have some liver problems, you should be talking to a doctor for anyway.
Yeah, but you should be talking to a doctor, not taking vodka. Yeah, exactly. If you have some sort of liver problem there. But for an enhanced athlete, that's a highly effective supplement. But again, the other thing too is apparently you want to make sure that you don't overlap like the same time. Like, so it's generally, my understanding is it's generally taken to offset the damage that can be caused by oral steroids, because orals have to pass through your liver, which means that it leaves a bunch of crap in there, and then this stuff comes in and scrapes it out. So you don't, similar to alcohol, you don't want to take them at the same time. So you take your orals like in the morning and then that stuff in the evening type thing, is my understanding of the way this is supposed to work. But that said, that's a highly specific sort of enhanced athlete only one. I guess there's other things too, like N-acetylcysteine, NAC. Right? That's
that twice a day. That has a lot of benefits besides liver cleaning, which is worthwhile.
Yeah, but I think if we go further than this, then we're probably going to start talking about only the enhanced stuff. We can roll back to maybe some of the ones that I think there's more of a question mark around, and maybe share views on that. For example, glutamine.
Good one.
Yeah. That what's your thoughts on that?
So glutamine is really still for me one of those gray area ones. It works or it doesn't work. People say it's great. People say it does. It's not so much. I have it again because one of those things where it's so cheap. It's just so I put in my intro workout along with my creatine and stuff because it's just, again, why not? I use 10 grams each time in my intro workout shake. I know there's people out there, again, enhanced bodybuilders who throw it in with using insulin. And I've heard people talk about, because, it can help the conversion for, glycogen, which I find a bit sketchy. I don't really see the foundation for that. So some people may be using it for that, and that's why I may have popular in bodybuilding world. And other people have claimed, and I've seen some top bodybuilders who are relatively intelligent say that it can help with fullness. With glycogen storage. I think it was Evan Centopani who would say, like, take 20 grams a day and then get back to me after a month and tell me you don't see a difference. I was like, oh, okay, fair enough.
Evan has some pretty esoteric supplementation ideas, though, if I remember correctly. Like he wants you to eat a whole bunch of kale or something too.
He was very into food stuff for a while. Which
I mean, he's a proper foodie, right?
Yeah.
So if you've seen the guy's kitchen, you probably understand why.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think I'm like jealous of all the appliances he's got.
I know. Especially those here in Japan. So glutamine is one of those ones kind of I'm on the fence on, but I take it just because it's accessible, it's affordable, and it does no harm. So.
Another usage or way of using glutamine that I've heard of is for gut health, and take it on an empty stomach in the morning. And again, the dosing's the same, 10 milligrams, but or 10 grams. Sorry,
10 grams. Yeah. And I do take it for that partly because I do have issues in my GI tract due to food poisoning several years ago. I still have not recovered from.
Oh wow!
So NAC and glutamine are part of that protocol. Many other things. So I do take it for that as well. So a lot of these things we're talking about that, I mean, obviously we're talking about them in the context of bodybuilding, but there's also other usages in general life because as I tell people a lot of time, bodybuilders are the people who are exploring things that are beneficial to everybody. Whether it's food, training, diet, whatever. We've been there before you and found the benefits by which you can, reap rewards from as a normal person.
Exactly. So glutamine, what else is there? What about, it's not a supplement, but it kind of rhymes with glutamine. Apple cider vinegar.
Good old ACV. What are your thoughts on that? I have my thoughts.
I don't have any thoughts. I haven't tried it myself. I know that, like, for example, a lot of the bikini competitors that I know are highly recommended that by their coaches. So yeah, I don't know. Like it seems strange to me that so many top coaches would be recommending that if it's not effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. That said, it just seems like a pain. So
I have used apple cider vinegar for many years on and off.
oh, interesting.
My usages for it have been mostly around stomach acid problems.
Okay.
The logic on that is that because it is highly acidic,
Yeah.
it gets your stomach to lower its own acid production because the presence of acid is already high.
Okay.
If too much acid, counterintuitively add acid, and it will lower its own production, which has some sense in homeostasis in the body, you know, arguably. I don't know if that really works or not. Some people use it for insulin sensitivity. I don't know if that works or not. And I think there's better ways to do that. I mean, berberine arguably works much better if that's what you're after. And I have used it, frankly, sometimes just because a little bit of apple cider vinegar and water makes it taste better. Just it gives it some flavor, you know, when you're tired of drinking glasses of water all day.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I just enjoy that. If you go to some restaurants, I used to go to like an Indonesian restaurant, you could get a drink that was like seltzer water with apple cider vinegar in it and a little bit of fruit juice. And it tastes really good. That's just part of the recipe for the drink. So I kind of learned from there too. So I use it on and off. I don't see a huge amount of benefit for it. I would say try it, small amount, if you like it. No harm, you know, but I don't think there's any really strong benefit for it either.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Interesting. Trying to rack my brain thinking of what else is out there that is like kind of widely advertised that people would have questions about.
Well, when I have that I've gone off again, on again, off again, and been off many years now, is beta-alanine. Some people swear by it. Me, it just gives me the tingles and it's annoying. So
okay, so this is true story.
Yeah.
I don't actually know what it does.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that it can make skin tingly a bit, but I don't know what it does. But only time I've ever consumed that has been incorporated as a part of a very well put together intra-workout supplement or pre-workout supplement. Pre-workout supplement. Where I know all of the other items in it are number one, dosed where they're supposed to be and effective.
Yeah.
Because like that's kind of the difference between a good pre-workout and a bad pre-workout. Is like a bad pre-workout may have all of the stuff or some of the stuff. So it'll have citrulline, it'll have creatine, it'll have whatever, but it'll have like, you know, a third of the dose that you need.
Right.
You know, whereas like the good quality supplements have the full dosing. And the other thing too is I find that the higher quality supplements will have everything listed individually. There's no proprietary blend. Because they want people to know that they're not hiding.
Right.
And they're saying, we have, in one of our things, you have 6 grams of L-citrulline, right? Which is like, that's the same as 12 milligrams of citrulline maltose. Or we have, you know, 200 mgs of caffeine, 150 of which comes from this source, 150 of which comes from this longer acting source. Like that sort of information, right, is all available on the nutrition facts. Or the ingredient list, right? In the high quality one.
Yeah, if it's a good quality product.
But on the other ones, it's like proprietary blend this and 4 grams of proprietary blend, right? You know what the ratio is like, right? Oh, you know what we haven't talked about? The most obvious ones, BCAAs.
Oh, yeah, that's because it's too obvious. Yeah.
No.
BCAAs or BCAAs versus EAAs or just BCAAs in their magical sense that they used to be.
BCAAs would segue nicely into EAAs because them, right? So why don't you take the wheel on that one?
Yeah. So I mean, BCAAs were a thing a long time ago. And they seemed like a really good idea because it was about the amino acids that you needed for muscle growth.
The building blocks of muscle.
Yes. Sound like
the marketing tagline.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it made sense. But I think we found out since then clearly that these amino acids in isolation don't do very much. Even if things like leucine do trigger, you know, protein synthesis, it doesn't do anything without complete proteins in the neighborhood.
Correct.
To use, you know, as a trigger with, hey, I get nothing to work with, so I'm not going to do anything. Kind of pointless. And then EAAs came along not too long after, depending upon your point of view of what's a long time. So for me, I did do BCAAs once in a while, and that was largely because, I joke about this, but it was just, it made my water taste better.
I was going to say they taste good. Yeah.
Privation
extend, watermelon flavor.
Right. And EAAs kind of fall in the same category for me. They make my water taste better, but I always use them in my intra-workout shake. I put 20 grams at least in my workout shake, and I used to use them when I was pre-contest and prep. I would be sipping EAAs throughout the day, which some people might say is good, some people say is bad. You don't want to have nutrients coming in all the time. You want to have a dearth of nutrients sometimes you don't. For me, it worked. I do that. But I think EAAs, we know now, is clearly superior to BCAAs. There's really no point in taking BCAAs. There's no benefit. They also don't mix as well as EAAs for whatever reason. I don't know.
I agree. One word of warning with EAAs, though, is you get what you pay for. Because a cheap EAA will smell and taste horrible.
Yeah, smells a good giveaway.
And because you're ingesting that, it makes your sweat smell like that.
Yes, yeah. So, like an ammonia smell.
Yeah, and it's terrible, right? So I still remember I tried to economize, and I bought My Protein EAAs. Oh my God. Like, I could not stand the smell of myself after 2 sessions. I was like, this is horrific. So, that's that very strong ammonia smell, right? It's terrible. On the other hand, if you buck up and you get the more expensive ones, like I love as in terms of like supplement companies out there, I really like the firm NutraBio. They used to sponsor Sean Clarita, who's obviously ex Mr. O, and in 212 anyways. And to me, one of the more impressive bodybuilders ever. The amount of work he's done, how much muscle mass he's put on. He's just an incredible specimen. But yeah, so NutraBio used to sponsor them, and I just really like their products. I think that they're one of these full disclosure companies, and everything seems to be done above board. They're not super fancy. They don't market a lot. But they used to have Sean promoting their stuff, and now I don't think they have much in terms of promotion, but always good quality products. But yeah, so I always go for their EAAs. Basically, if you pay up, you can usually expect to get a reasonable EAA product. But if you try to go cheap and try to go inexpensive, I did this once. There's a Japanese one called Bulk Sports. Which is like, their products are pretty good, far better than My Protein. You're looking for something that's like a more economical version of the name brand supplements that are out there. I like that. And it's like, so it's a subline of Haleo, the people that make that Haleo supplement. So Haleo supplement line is kind of a bit designerish, right? But this is their kind of budget line, right? And they had EAAs, but I remember that when I looked on the back, I think they only had 8.
Okay, that's
there's 9, and if I remember correctly, it was missing L-histidine. So
which one got booted off the show?
So I was kind of like, when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, they're cheap, but I don't know, that's a little bit sus. So I'll go back to the more expensive ones. But generally, like with EAAs, I don't like. I'm very I try to be as economical as I can with my supplements, because you can just go nuts and go broke, right? But a lot of the times you don't need the fancy package. You don't need the thing. You can pick a more economical choice. Creatine monohydrate, for example. There's no difference between the creatine monohydrate that is like, put out, that costs $10 for, however many grams it is you get, versus one that costs 40. There's nothing. Either they're adding something to it that you don't necessarily want because you just want the creatine, or just like marketing stuff like muscle tech, right? Blah blah blah. But they pay athletes big bucks to promote their products, and that gets reflected in the marketing expenditure, which then gets thrown into the price, right? So I think that generally speaking with supplements, it's okay to go for a more generic version. That said, there are a few where I think that you have to buck up for, and I think that EAAs is one of them.
Yeah. And I will, I don't know, put an adjunct to that because I am a cheap mofo.
Yeah.
And all my powders do come from My Protein.
Yeah. Oh.
And I have no issues with them.
Really?
I don't smell the smell, and I don't have the smell in my body. And I think, I'm not going to say better or worse, but I think we each metabolize nutrients in different ways.
Yeah.
More efficient, less efficient, different pathways. There's the whole world out there of super supplements that gets even more complicated about how people metabolize things.
Sure.
I think it makes a difference in people. I know some people, you can take the same whey protein powders and get really good results and not so good results. Obviously, you get like GI upset and stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
You know,
so
these kind of things you may have to learn on your own too.
Yeah.
But if you want the clearest route, get the best product you can afford.
Yeah.
You know, simply put, you know, you may find out that you get 2 kilograms of My Protein EAs and they wreck your stomach.
Yeah.
Be a bad adventure and waste of your time. But it's a choice you got to make, I guess. So yeah.
Well, that's the thing too, is My Protein sizes are so big that like when you make that decision, it's terrible. Because like that was exactly what happened with the EAAs.
Did you? Yeah.
It was like a kilogram or something.
Yeah, and it was no good.
Jeez, you know, how long is this going to take me to get through? And like that was when I was married. I was like, am I going to get divorced as a result of this? And like literally, I made it through about a quarter, and I can't do this anymore. So I had to chuck it because it was just too much.
These are the things, though. I mean, we're joking about like body smell, but I think there's something there that you should pay attention to. Like if your body's reacting negatively by giving off an odd odor, just taking a food supplement, something's not working right, and you should probably stop using it.
Absolutely.
And that may even be a certain food. Some of us eat certain foods, bodies react poorly. It's worth paying attention to. You know? And you and I are different people, and our listeners are different people. Everybody should listen to their own body and find out, you know, what works or doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're going to be scraping the barrel now if we
I think all the good stuff.
Supplements, but I think we've pretty much covered them all now that we got the BAAs, BCAAs, EAAs, glutamine. Talked on whey, creatine, caffeine,
fish oil, you know, vitamin D3, all the good stuff,
and even ones as esoteric as nattokinase. So
and tudka.
Exactly. Yeah,
all good stuff. Cool. So hopefully people found it informative, or at least we touched on some things they may have been thinking about. You know, and we can say, I mean, we're both older gents. I'm an older gent, and I'm still here. I'm still healthy, so I must be doing something right. So you can take that for what it is, for advice and supplements. So
absolutely.
So, well, I guess we'll shall we close it there for today?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. That's great.
All right. So you guys know that the usual, I'm gonna probably make this short and short each time, but you know, give us some comments, some questions, likes, subscribes, all that kind of fun stuff to let us know we're doing the right thing and you want more of the same. So,
or if you want different, let us know. Yeah, that works too.
Absolutely. Constructive criticism is always welcome.
Always.
Okay. All right. Greg, I will see you in the next one.
Okay. Sounds great. Thanks, Matt.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.